Hello, this is Hugh Massey from DNA Behaviour. In this session today, I'm going to take you through the financial DNA learned behaviour discovery process, and in particular, the reporting for our learned behaviour discovery. Again, I'm going to use Helen Jones as the case study. So you recall from my other sessions where we addressed natural behaviour, that the natural behaviour discovery is uncovering that component of a person's financial behaviour, or what we call the broader financial personality, that relates to their hardwired behaviour that's ingrained from very early in life. It's really the behaviour that's extremely difficult to change and will consistently reveal itself over time. However, the natural behaviour is not all of the person's financial personality. There are also learned behaviours that come from life experiences or financial experiences, their values, and also education. And there are various layers of education, from general schooling, college, and then more specific business education, and even going to investment related education. What I've found for investors is that the most relevant education is actually more investment related education and a deep knowledge of markets. So for instance, an accountant may not necessarily have high knowledge of investments, even though they have quite a high knowledge of finances in an overall sense. This would be true for a lawyer. A highly educated person doesn't necessarily mean that they're highly educated for finances. Life experiences are also important. So what we're talking about here is these experiences, values, and education that have developed within a person's personality past the age of 3, and usually a little bit later on than that, certainly from the time that they've been at high school. The learned behaviour is also less ingrained, so behaviours learned can be unlearned with coaching, development, peer association. The natural hardwired behaviour is harder to unlearn because it is instinctive and very ingrained. So what we do at Financial DNA is, our overall process is that any client or individual should complete the Financial DNA natural behaviour discovery first, so we get the reading of their core natural behaviour that remains fixed throughout their life. Our testing, as I've outlined before, demonstrates that the results don't change throughout a person's lifetime, including in up and down markets and through different life events. So really the Financial DNA natural behaviour only needs to be done once, whereas the learned behaviour can change from time to time, depending on experiences, perceptions of the market, education. So we encourage it to be redone every 1 to 3 years. And the process we adopt in the reporting is that the natural behaviour is compared to the learned behaviour. So you can see this here in the graphic, that for Helen Jones's risk behaviour, her natural behaviour, she comes up with a score of 73, so she is more of a risk taker than 73% of the population. But her current learned behaviour is 46%. In other words, she would rather be more cautious right now with her finances. That's her preference. So that's important for an advisor to understand, and also for Helen to recognise that her instinct is to take risks, but due to current financial circumstances, experiences, she's looking to take less risk. So to have her in a portfolio that carries too much risk may lead to an emotional problem when there's an event down the track. So in comparing the scores here, we can see 73 versus 46, and we're highlighting in the report that this is a significant difference. So usually any scoring difference of more than 10 points is considered a significant difference and should be discussed between the advisor and the client. So the whole idea here is to get a higher level of alignment and to deepen the discussion that takes place between the advisor and the client. Really, it's for the advisor to find out why. Now, in real life, the reason for Helen Jones was that while she is a risk taker, she accepted risks being taken, took risks, did some dinner party investing, in other words, following the herd, didn't really research it, lost money on a repeated basis. And now she's focused on her retirement. She's actually quite concerned about where she's at, that there's been a pattern of losses, and therefore is back in her shell to some degree, being far more cautious. From a relationship management perspective, there's no real difference. She naturally wants a relationship with her advisor. She wants to be advised. She wants to delegate. And that's what her learned behavior is saying. From a financial planning management perspective, naturally, she's lower. So she is more of a spender, doesn't do budgets, is less financially organized. But in real life, or from a learned behavior perspective, she is saying that she is more organized than that and she does budgets. This is an area that I would question a fair bit, because what I've found in my experience is clients that are not budgeters, are less structured with their money, will often say that they've learned to be more structured out of necessity. So they will tell you that they do budgets. They will disagree to some degree with this and say that this is true. But what you need to do is look at the facts and look at the spending patterns and ask questions about when does she spend money? Because what I find is that these clients often, they do have a budget, but they don't really stick to it. And it's a question of is how much don't they stick to it, and how much financial leakage is there in terms of excess spending nevertheless. And then from the wealth building motivation, again, Helen's not that driven naturally, but she's got a very high learned behavior, quite a high drive to create wealth. And this has partly been created by the fact that she's lost wealth through poor investments, and realizes that to have the lifestyle that she wants, so she's a lifestyle person, she has to create more wealth. So there's a drive there. And what's interesting when you look at this report in totality is that we're seeing the lifestyle desire there, but her desire to take risks from a learned behavior perspective is lower. So how is she going to create the wealth to live the life that she wants is going to be the big question, particularly when she is possibly a spender as well. So there's a risk of losing money from spending too much. And many people find themselves in this place. So it's going to require a lot of discipline. It's going to require the advisor to really work closely with her. And she's going to have to find an area of her life that she's passionate about and can be happy to deploy her time and talents to that area and skills to make more money. In financial emotional intelligence, generally speaking, it's about on par between the natural and learned behavior. There isn't the 10-point gap there. So she's going to get quite emotional along the way. And the advisor, in this case, Chris Coddington, is going to have to manage that. And if you recall from earlier sessions, Chris Coddington isn't that emotionally connective in his style and could be quite rational, and that's where there could be some trust lost in the relationship with her, but on the other side, he's quite rational. And if she respects him and listens to his advice, he will be able to keep things managed through up and down times. What's also important, and this comes back to some of the comments that I made at the start of this session, is the client's investment knowledge and experience. And what we can generally see here from Helen's responses is that she is not that experienced or knowledgeable with money. So she's going to require quite a lot of advice. She's not going to be able to take a lot of risks or step up above her risk level easily without a lot of advisor support. So you can see that here, that her knowledge of specific investment classes is not that high. She's done some investing along the way, and this is where she's lost money. She's got a home, but we can see the rest of it, she's going to rely pretty heavily on the advisor. So this is important to know, is the client's level of sophistication, if you want to call it that. So again, what we're doing here with the learned behaviour report is comparing the natural behaviour that remains stable through Helen's life versus her learned behaviours that can change. And this is this is showing where she's at right now. Again, you know, she goes along every 1 to 3 years, have her recomplete this, see where some differences come, and use it as an educational tool, you know, to monitor her life situation as you build the plan. And this is going to be very important for Helen, given that there are significant differences between her natural behaviour and her learned behaviour, and she's going to need a lot of advice to rebuild her wealth, given the situation she's in.